Hello and welcome to day 5 of the Chronological Bible reading plan with myself and Joseph. Today we read in Genesis 12 to 15.
In some chronological reading plans, after Genesis 11, then you go into the story of Job and read the entirety of Job before we come back to Genesis 12 and pick on the story of Abraham. But the Bible reading plan we are following has made it clear that the book of Job, amongst other things, is one of those books that is so difficult to place when it actually happened. And so what they did in the Chronological Study Bible is to put it alongside some of the other wisdom books, especially in the period of the Babylonian captivity. Not necessarily because that's when it happened, but simply because you can't really situate it chronologically. So that's the plan we're following, and so we will just continue. It's actually weird a bit, to be honest, to start. You get to the story of Terah, and now we've known of Abraham, and then we go and talk about Job, and then we come back after 1 week or so reading Job and come back to Abraham. It's a bit of a back and forth. So let's just carry on with Genesis 12, and then at some point we'll get to Job. It's a promise. Genesis 12. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed."
So Abraham went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abraham took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people that they had acquired in Haran. And they set out to go to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abraham passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moriah. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he moved to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abraham journeyed on, still going toward the Negeb.
Now there was a famine in the land, so Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to Sarai, his wife, "I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance. And when the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will let you live."
"Say you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life may be spared for your sake." When Abraham entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. And when the princes of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. For her sake, he dealt well with Abraham. And he had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels.
But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abraham's wife. So Pharaoh called Abraham and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go." And Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had.
Chapter 13. So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the Negeb.
Now Abraham was very rich in livestock, in silver and in gold, and he journeyed on there from the Negeb as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place where he had made an altar at the first. And there Abraham called upon the name of the Lord. And Lot, who went with Abraham, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together. For their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together, and there was strife between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land.
Then Abraham said to Lot, "Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abraham settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord.
The Lord said to Abraham, after Lot had separated from him, "Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. And I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I will give it to you." So Abraham moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord.
Chapter 14. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, these kings made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Besha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeba, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. And all these joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they had served Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran on the border of the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and defeated all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who were dwelling in Azazon Tamar.
Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, went out, and they joined battle in the valley of Siddim with Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some fell into them, and the rest fled to the hill country. So the enemy took all the possession of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and went their way. They also took Lot, the son of Abraham's brother, who was dwelling in Sodom, and his possessions, and went their way.
Then one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and of Anar. These were allies of Abraham. When Abraham heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he led forth his trained men, born in his house, 318 of them, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them, and pursued them to Hobah, north of Damascus. Then he brought back all the possessions, and also brought back his kinsman Lot with his possessions, and the women and the people.
After his return from the defeat of Kedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. It was the priest of God Most High. And he blessed them and said,
Blessed be Abram by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand.
And Abram gave him a tenth of everything. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the persons, but take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to the Lord God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I would not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. I will take nothing but what the young men have eaten and the share of the men who went with me. Let Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre take their share.
Chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Fear not, Abram. I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great. But Abram said, O Lord God, what will you give me? For I continue childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, you have given me no offspring, and a member of my household will be my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him. This man shall not be your heir, your very own son shall be your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look toward the heaven and number the stars, if you are able to number them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. And he believed the Lord, and he counted it to him as righteousness.
And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to possess. But he said, O Lord God, how am I to know that I shall possess it? He said to him, Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he brought him all this, cut them in half, and laid each half over against the other. But he did not cut the birds in half. And when birds of prey came down on the carcasses, Abram drove them away.
As the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram, and behold, dreadful and great darkness fell upon him. Then the Lord said to Abram, Know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age, and they shall come back here in the 4th generation. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete.
When the sun had gone down and it was dark, behold, a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your offspring I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. So here we are, introduced to at least in depth, into the life of Abraham and Sarai. And I mean, so many things to unpack, but I have a question as to why Abraham would tell Sarah to lie, that she's his sister. I mean, of course, I've read different commentaries that say in actual fact, she is his half sister because they have the same father but different mothers. But then, of course, that's not the point here. The point is really to make the image of she is my sister, like she's really not my wife in any way. And I don't know whether that's a common thing to do in those days. It sounds like I don't know, some cultural thing, because we know that Isaac would go on to do the same thing with his wife Rebecca years down the line. So I don't know what's going on there.
True.
And I find it interesting the parameters by which Lot chose, what seemed, physically speaking, to be a beautiful, lush land. And of course, we know eventually that by making that choice based on what he can see, you only have to move to the next chapter before you found him already being held captive by some enemy and caught in the collateral damage of a war that perhaps did not even necessarily concern him. And that's just a pointer to the necessity of having God choose for us, having God lead us in our choices, I should say, ordering our steps. Abraham gave Lot the choice, the opportunity to choose first, as it were. But for Abraham, it wasn't so much of him making the choice. The Bible says in chapter 13, verse 14, the Lord said to him, after Lot had separated from him, lift up your eyes. Look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, westward. All the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. In other words, in fact, if he were to make a choice, he would have chosen one side. But God is more or less giving him everything. North, south, east, west. Look as far as your eyes can see. It's all yours. And I mean, you can't get a better deal than that. So yeah, just that. And this plays out especially in the area of making the choice of a life partner for many young people. They go by physical parameters, jobs, this, that, and compatibility tests or whatever. And all of that, there is a place for that in some sense.
True.
But ultimately, are your steps being ordered by the Lord in making the choices that you make? It would be my takeaway message. How about you?
My one is just on the back of yours, regarding Lot's choosing by himself.
Okay.
What came to my mind is, I know if an elderly person tells you to choose, ask them, what do they think is best? Put the question back to them. Because there's a Yoruba adage that what a child... I'll say it in a very rough way. You have me fine-tune it. Something like you can't see farther than an elderly person, even if you're at the top of the tallest tree. Of the tallest tree, the elderly person sitting on the small chair still see farther than you. So if which options were put to you by an elderly person that you trust, a God-fearing person, rather than running with the options, put it back to them. What do you think is best in your opinion? Maybe if Lot had done that, I don't know. Would that mean that Abraham would have then gone to Sodom and Gomorrah and then Lot would have stayed in the good land?
Not necessarily. I mean,
we don't know.
Because what's played out there is such that even the land that Lot chose, in some sense, because God said to Abraham, as far as your eyes can see, it's all yours. So even what Lot chose, ultimately, is still part of what God has given to Abraham and his descendants. And that is what eventually would, in some sense, play out in history.
Okay. Another point that was very curious to me is, do you not see that every time God is making a covenant with Abraham, even though the man is childless, God keeps saying things about offspring. And offspring is not just your child. It's not a collection of the children that comes through your lineage, isn't it?
Yeah. Like it goes transgenerationally.
Transgenerationally. So in that sense, God wasn't just seeing him. It wasn't just in the present need of him having a son. It's seen further than that. And on the two occasions where God told Abraham, your offspring will take possession of this land, there was no complaint from him. But then I think from chapter 15, when God said it as well, to say that your reward shall be great, that's when Abraham then put it to God to say that I remain childless. And that was when God then said, your own very son. It changed it from offspring to your own very son. And it's instructive to me and to us listeners as well to know that it's just like the adage you said about an elder and a young person. You can't see as much even if you're at the top of the tree. Same with God. He sees the holistic view. So when we're putting our requests and expectation to God, it's just within the remit of what we can see.
Yeah.
But sometimes the answer is given us is transgenerational. And if we're not mindful of what he's saying or doing, we might miss out on that offspring repetition and keep focusing on us being childless, like the physical thing we can see, whereas he's saying this vastness is what I'm giving to you. And in the offspring and repetition comes the actual answer to the direct need of Abraham, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't have an offspring if there's no son coming from you. So it kind of answers his question without answering his question. So that was instructive to me.
Interesting.
And the last thing is that Abraham kept building an altar to the Lord. And Kola, I just want to ask you this question. There's this thing let me ask you a question, yeah. You know, in those days, they built altar by making proper sacrifices to God, right?
Yeah.
Like animal sacrifice,
Yeah.
burnt offering, and it goes to God.
Okay.
In our dispensation, we can't do that.
Okay.
Do you think, is it biblical to say that you're putting your expectations, you're bundling them up,
Okay.
as a sacrifice and building an altar and leaving them on there? Would that be a pleasant sacrifice to God? Like tying it to trusting him to say, your yoke is easy, I'll take it on. But I'm leaving all these pent-up desires that I have not seen yet and offering them to you as a sacrifice. Does it work that way?
What does that even look like?
I don't know.
Of course, in the new covenant, which is the dispensation in which we are living, the ultimate sacrifice is ourselves. Paul said in, I think, Romans 12, I beseech you, therefore, that you present yourself. I beseech you, therefore, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies as a pleasing sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So at the end of the day, it's all of us, like all what makes us us, our dreams, our visions, our expectations, our personal desires, our preferences, or whatever. We are laying it all on the altar. It's what that looks like practically to me would just be to say God is number one and will always be, not me. And so when he comes calling or gives an instruction that contravenes my own personal plans, as the case may be, I go with ease, no question. That's sacrifice. When he makes demand on my time, and yet the time looks like it's not even enough for my own things, I go with what he will ask of me to do, no question. So that's what that looks like. And I think, that might also mean indeed, like, trading your personal preferences and desires and whatever, and say, yes, Lord, to what you want for me. My grace is sufficient for you, even if I don't take away the thorn in your flesh. Sometimes it might look like that. But
Okay.
I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. Day 5 done. Looking forward to day 6 as we continue the interesting story of Abraham and Sarai. At this point, pardon us if we slide into calling Abraham. His name is still Abram, not Abraham.
Are we calling him Abraham already?
I'm not too sure, but I might have made a mistake. And sometimes I call him Abram, sometimes I call him Abram. And then Sarah is still Sarai, not yet Sarah. So that distinction needs to be made. Okay. I think that's it. till we come your way again tomorrow, just remember,
You're not alone today.
God bless you.
Bye.